Have you ever wondered what it's like to be a vengeful, spectral vampire navigating a decaying world torn between the realms of the living and the dead? Welcome to the dark and twisted universe of Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver, a game that not only broke the mold, but reshaped it entirely. Back in 1999, a year teeming with technological advances and the looming uncertainty of Y2K, a game emerged that would leave an indelible mark on the gaming landscape. This wasn't just any game, it was Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver, a title that would challenge the norms and push the boundaries of storytelling and gameplay in ways we hadn't seen before. So, what makes Soul Reaver so special, and why are we still talking about it decades later? Strap in as we're about to dive deep into the abyss of this groundbreaking game, exploring its intricate world, its revolutionary mechanics, and the legacy it left behind. A legacy that not only defined a genre, but also became a cult classic revered by gamers around the globe. Let's start at the very beginning, where all great stories do. The story of Soul Reaver begins not on the screen, but in the minds of some of the most innovative game developers of the time. It was born from the creative cauldron of Crystal Dynamics, a studio already making waves in the gaming world. But what sparked the creation of such a unique game? It was a desire to explore uncharted territories of narrative and gameplay, to craft a world that was as deep in its lore as it was rich in its atmosphere. At the heart of this creative endeavor was Amy Hennig, a name that would later become synonymous with storytelling excellence in video games. Her vision for Soul Reaver was not just to create another action-adventure game, but to build an epic saga, a story that delved deep into themes of betrayal, redemption, and the cyclical nature of time and fate. The design philosophy of Soul Reaver was so groundbreaking, it was one of the first games to truly embrace a non-linear narrative, allowing players to explore the game's world, Nosgoth, at their own pace. This was a world that felt alive, yet hauntingly desolate, a place where the remnants of a once great civilization lay in ruins. The game's environment was not just a backdrop, it was an integral part of the story, with each area revealing more about the game's rich lore and history. Soul Reaver was a departure from the norm in many ways, and this was reflected in every aspect of its design, from its complex narrative to its unique visual style. The game's development dared to dream big, and in doing so, they crafted a world that was as fascinating as it was fearsome, setting the stage for an unforgettable journey into the heart of darkness. In Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver, the gameplay was as innovative as its story. Players took on the role of Raziel, a vampire turned wraith, navigating a world that existed in two parallel dimensions, the material and the spectral. This dual world mechanic was not just a visual trick, it was central to the gameplay, influencing everything from puzzle solving to combat. The game's combat system was a departure from the hack and slash norm, Raziel lacking the ability to kill his undead enemies in traditional ways, had to rely on environmental hazards and clever strategies to dispatch his foes. This approach to combat was not only ingenious, but also added a layer of depth to each encounter, forcing players to think creatively. But perhaps the most striking aspect of Soul Reaver's gameplay was its approach to exploration and progression. The game world was an open, interconnected labyrinth, a far cry from the linear levels of its contemporaries. Players were encouraged to explore with new abilities, unlocking previously inaccessible areas. This Metroidvania-style progression system was ahead of its time, offering a sense of freedom and discovery that was rare in the games of that era. What truly set Soul Reaver apart was the way it made players feel. The game's world was not just a place to pass through. It was an environment to be experienced. From the eerie, echoing corridors of the underworld to the windswept ruins of Nosgoth's surface, every location conveyed a sense of melancholic beauty and decay. It was a game that stayed with you long after you turned off the console, a testament to the power of its gameplay and the world it invited you to explore. While Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver was lauded for its innovative gameplay and compelling narrative, it wasn't without its hurdles and controversies. One of the most significant challenges faced during its development was the ambitious scope of the project. The team at Crystal Dynamics was pushing the limits of what was possible at the time, both in terms of technology and storytelling. This ambition led to tough decisions, including cutting content and altering the game's ending, which sparked discussion and debates among the fans. This caused fans of the series to be divided over these changes. Some applauded the game for what it achieved within its constraints, praising its rich story and atmospheric world. Others, however, couldn't help but wonder what could have been if the game had been released as originally envisioned. This dichotomy of opinions highlighted a fundamental aspect of gaming culture: the passion of players for immersive and complete experiences. The development struggles also shed light on the complexities and challenges of the game development, especially for a title as pioneering as Soul Reaver. The game's developers had to balance their artistic vision with the practicalities of technology and deadlines, a balancing act that is all too familiar in the gaming industry. But despite these challenges, Soul Reaver managed to rise above them all, delivering an experience that was both groundbreaking and deeply engaging. Its legacy is a reminder of the resilience and creativity of game developers and the passionate engagement of the gaming community. It stands as a testament to the idea that even amidst controversies and challenges, great games can emerge, capturing the imaginations of players and leaving a lasting impact on the gaming landscape. In the rich tapestry of Legacy of Kain, the narrative stands as a monumental achievement in video game storytelling. The plot unfolds in the dark, gothic world of Nosgoth, a land ravaged by corruption and decay. Players step into the ethereal shoes of Raziel, a lieutenant turned pariah, betrayed and executed by his master, Kain. Revived as a wraith, Raziel embarks on a quest for vengeance, unraveling a story that delves into themes of destiny, free will, and redemption. The characters of Soul Reaver are not mere avatars moving through a digital world. They are complex, multifaceted beings, each with their own motivations and histories. Raziel, with his haunting visage and vengeful spirit, is a protagonist unlike any other. His journey from loyal servant to vengeful outcast is not just a narrative arc. It's a deep dive into the psyche of being torn between the thirst for revenge and the quest for a greater understanding of his own existence. The game's antagonist, Kain, is equally compelling. Far from a one-dimensional villain, Kain is portrayed as a tragic figure, a ruler struggling with the burden of destiny and the corruption it brings. The dynamic between Raziel and Kain is the driving force of the narrative, a complex interplay of mentorship, rivalry, and existential conflict. Soul Reaver also explores deeper thematic elements, weaving a narrative that questions the nature of time, destiny, and the very essence of the soul. The game's world, rich in lore and mythology, is not just a backdrop for Raziel's journey, it's an integral part of the story, with each location offering its own piece of the puzzle. From the spectral ruins of the underworld to the decaying splendor of the material realm, each area Raziel explores adds depth and context to the game's intricate narrative. The storytelling in Soul Reaver is a masterclass in video game narrative, blending deep philosophical themes with a compelling, character-driven story. It's a narrative that doesn't just entertain. It invites players to ponder the larger questions of existence and the consequences of our choices. Soul Reaver didn't just tell a story, it invited players to live it, to become a part of a world where every shadow held a story, and every choice echoed through the fangs of time. The impact of Soul Reaver on the gaming world was both profound and far-reaching. Upon its release, the game was met with critical acclaim, hailed for its innovative gameplay, atmospheric world, and deep, engaging narrative. Critics and players alike were captivated by the game's unique approach to storytelling, which its richly detailed universe and the haunting journey of its protagonist Raziel. But the influence of Soul Reaver extended beyond its initial reception. It became a benchmark for narrative-driven games, demonstrating how a compelling story could be seamlessly integrated with gameplay. The game's innovative mechanics, particularly the dual-world exploration and environmental puzzle solving, would go on to inspire a generation of game designers. Its legacy can be seen in numerous titles that followed, where the blending of story and gameplay became more harmonious and integral to the gaming experience. But perhaps most notably, Soul Reaver achieved a cult status among gamers, a testament to its lasting appeal and the deep connection it forged with its audiences. Its fans cherished not just the game itself, but the world it created, a universe rich with lore and mystery. The game's legacy is evident in the passionate community that still discusses, analyzes, and celebrates it years after its release. The enduring popularity of Soul Reaver is a reflection of its impact on video game history. It was a game that pushed boundaries, challenged conventions, and elevated the medium as a whole. Its legacy is a reminder of the potential of video games to not just entertain, but to create worlds that resonate with players, worlds that linger in the memory long after the final credits have rolled. In the end, Soul Reaver stands as a monumental achievement in the realm of video gaming. It's a journey that transcends mere play, offering a profound exploration of themes like destiny, redemption, and the very fabric of existence. This game was not just about defeating enemies and solving puzzles, it was about experiencing a story, a world that was as rich in narrative depth as it was in atmospheric beauty. Reflecting on the journey of Raziel, we see more than a character in a game. We see a symbol of struggle, transformation, and the quest for understanding in a world rife with complexities and moral ambiguities. Soul Reaver challenged players to think, to feel, and to question, setting a new standard for what video games could achieve as a storytelling medium. The game's legacy is not just in the mechanics it pioneered or the narrative it unfolded, but in the way it resonated with players. It became a touchstone for discussion, analysis, and appreciation, a testament to the enduring power of well-crafted stories and immersive worlds in video games. So as we look back at Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver, we're reminded of the potential of video games to not only entertain, but to inspire and provoke thought. It's a game that invites us to think, how do the stories we play shape our understanding of the world and ourselves? In the ever-evolving landscape of video games, Soul Reaver remains a beacon of innovation and narrative depth. A game that continues to inspire and captivate long after its first haunting notes played over the dim glow of a CRT screen. Thanks for watching, and click this video here if you want to see the Retro Reload do another deep dive into the history of your favorite video game.